G'day, welcome to the Forged by the Fire podcast, and I can see you looking at the camera now that the lighting has not balanced at all, but I've just had a great chat with Mark and Dunny. We've been talking about all the different pressures and challenges of being a parent and working frontline shift work with that, and just the challenge of being a parent in general, and also just how rewarding it is. So I've learned a heap, how to leave stuff at the door, continuously engaging with your kids and making the most of the moment, communicating when you're not feeling well, all sorts of different tips and points. I've had a great time, guys, so thanks heaps. Hope you guys enjoy it. Feel free, if you've got any questions or comments or stories you want to tell, just drop it in the comments, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks heaps, enjoy.
Yeah, cool.
So thanks heaps for coming along. Danny, thanks for coming back. It's good to have you here, bro. I really enjoyed having you on last time and adding your value. Yeah. What's that?
I just come back for the sausage. Are we talking again?
Yeah. Oh. And Mark, super stoked to have you here, man.
Thank you.
Well involved in the peer support team. I've seen you a firefighter down in Rotorua, and very proactive in the peer support space down there, hey?
Yeah, tried to be. Yeah,
good.
Thank you.
Cool, man. Cool. Yeah, well, Mark's actually the one who put me on to the Resilience Project. I don't know, have you read that, Dunny? Have you come across
it?
No,
I know a little bit about it, mate.
Yeah,
not enough to comment on it.
It's an awesome book. So Mark put me onto that, and it's just got some really cool tools, really cool. Today, I sort of just wanted to see if we could apply some of that to, I guess, like parenting, as it's a very busy world at the moment, and shift work and all the stresses and stuff that come with that. I was kind of wondering if you guys think that, I sort of feel like probably a few incidents recently where I feel like, oh man, how do you sort of, I guess, whether it's keeping work at work and not bringing stuff home, and just the challenges of being a frontline service worker and a parent, and wondering if you reckon there's other people that are finding the same balance difficult at times.
You go, mate. Oh, thanks, man. I think just being a parent in general, right, is it's hectic. I've got two kids myself, 12 and 13 now, so I kind of feel like we're in this little sweet spot. Mm-hmm. I have absolutely no illusion that from what I know of me growing up as a kid and what my friends and family around me are saying and doing, that we're potentially on a precipice of a massive hormonal change, and it could all change in a heartbeat, right? But I think that's parenting in general, right? It's the start of it with the sleepless nights and feeling like you're overwhelmed. Well, I don't know if it's everyone, but definitely I know myself and Lisa, my wife, not so much. But you don't know if you're doing it right or doing it wrong. You're just basing it on what your parents sort of modeled to you, and sort of gleaming what you can off your friends and family. So it's a hectic time, right? Anyway, but then you throw into the mix for any shift workers, right? That sleep deprivation at work as well. Yeah. And then you throw on top of that potentially traumatic experiences constantly during your normal work day. Then that stuff can stack up. Not saying that it's definitely the worst situation to be in, but yeah, I think it definitely adds to the loading, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I totally agree that it's like, it's not just, it's not our struggle is alone. Any parent, right, has work stresses on them, and like it is a broad, it's a big thing. Like,
yeah, big time. And you throw into the mix as well financial pressures, all of that sort of stuff, right? I think it plays a part, whether or not it makes it a lot harder than others. Yeah, not 100% sure, but it definitely, I think it does that sort of traumatic side of things and that shift worker side of things. It definitely probably adds to the load as well. I don't know. Marky?
Yeah, so I'm in a different stage to Dunny. My kids are 7 and 3, so I'm not at that sweet spot yet. So ideally I'd like to lock them in the closet for a few years. And
it's vented.
Yeah, vented.
It's ventilated.
I'll give them food and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not cruel. But no, it can be challenging is obviously, key word for it, because they have no idea what you've done all day. Yeah. They have no idea what you've been exposed to. They're in their own sort of, that egocentric stage where it's all about them. Yeah. And it's fine. They're kids. It should be about them. That's what childhood's all about. Childhood should be fun and innocent and everything. But so obviously they have no understanding, like Dunny said, if you've been up all night working, or if you've seen something particularly traumatic, they have no appreciation for that. And obviously you want to shield them from that as well, you know. And it can be hard, you want to, as they say, you should leave your emotions at the door when you get home. But it can be hard. Yeah. And I think you can be, you can run out of sympathy when something seems quite trivial. If you've dealt with something that's obviously affected someone and it's been a life-changing traumatic event for someone else, and you come home and your kid is upset or angry over something that to you seems so trivial, and you can't help but react and just sort of not quite able to explain to them the grand scheme of things, that like what they're upset about is nothing. So sometimes it's hard not to react sort of not callously, but I suppose just not be as sympathetic as you can be as a parent, I would say.
It's that empathy thing, right? And when that empathy level, like if you've tapped out and it's all been used up, like you say, I think it's that internal perspective of this isn't like what you're dealing with is not a big deal, and you're still maybe processing that thing that potentially to someone else during the day was a big deal. And you come home and, like you say, it can be the smallest thing, right? And if you haven't, like Marky said, checked your emotions at the door at least, right, and just had that pause point where you sort of take a breath, either on the way home from work or whatever, and just check that your own emotional state before you walk through that door, right? Like, what am I feeling? Am I tense? Can I still feel whatever's going on in the day is still sitting with me? And you walk through the door with that unprocessed, or you just haven't recognized or reflected on it. Then that spills out, right? That spills out into your family life when you walk through that door. Well, for me at least, and in most people's homes, that's where you feel safe, right? And that's where you feel like you can relax and let that guard down. It's almost that cue. And sometimes, unfortunately, there's stuff going on at home, which there always is, right? Usually there's something kicking off, or someone drops a Matchbox toy right at the front door, or the first thing you get is a lob of Play-Doh thrown in your eye as you walk through the door, or something like that, right? Which is funny, right? If you're in the right headspace, but if you've had that day, that is just your cue, right? Flip the switch, straight into it.
And it is hard, and I don't know if you're the same, but like sometimes I'll just react, and I'll react angrily. A kid's done something just silly, and then you yell, and then immediately you feel that guilt because you've yelled at them, and you know that that's the wrong reaction, but it's just human nature just kind of takes over.
I think it's in that point, it's a normal reaction, right? But it's about I guess for me, I used to do it a lot, and I don't think we'd be alone as parents, and not even first responder parents, right? You can have a day. I remember one time, my partner, I don't think she'd mind me telling this story, she came home from work. Well, I came home from work, it'd been a reasonably tough day, and bolted in the door, asked her how her day was, and she just turned around and just said, "Oh, do you know what? If I have to replace the black ink cartridge in that photocopier one more time, I am going to explode and tear someone's head off." And I'd been to unfortunately a fatal car accident that day. So that those two perspectives, that was a big deal for her, you know, and she had lost it and she wanted to vent and talk about that. She asked me, she was, oh, sorry. Anyway, how was your day? I chose not to tell her. I was like just the obligatory, oh, yeah, you know, just a couple of jobs, nothing too stressful. But it's that perspective, right? Yeah, because the job, I guess you do get that elevated level of it. But it's perspective, man. Someone's crappy day is their crappy day, and they'll come home, and if they haven't got that capacity anymore to deal with those little fluctuations, which you get in this family life, right? Then it can just come out as that raw explosion of emotions, right? Which you're right, you feel instantly guilty afterwards because it's not their fault. The kids, they don't know.
Yeah. And do you guys like have strategies of how to, you know, like what sort of thoughts, or how do you think it through? To, I guess you're like both of you explain, there's a line between
drugs and alcohol.
There we go.
I sleep in my car down the road. I don't go home anymore. Just send them the paychecks. Jokes.
No, but like the line, you know, obviously there's a certain layer of stuff that you try to keep out of home, or not, you know, not carry that home. But then there's also a certain amount of stuff that you get home, and I don't know. I guess for me, my kids are much younger. I'm 2 under 2, and that's the stage of it. Believe it or not, we're actually loving it. I think we got a storm coming at some point. But you know, like, is there a line of stuff that you get home and tell your kids like, look, Daddy's just not feeling it today, or like, do you guys have strategies of how to approach, you know, as far as leaving at the front door, what you think through?
I think sort of, and I need to employ them a lot more, but you know, you're sort of like your strategies of what we talked about at the beginning with the Resilience Project, your sort of gratitude, empathy, and mindfulness. Like if you can focus more on those things, then, you know, and they sort of become a part of your life, then they can certainly help as coping strategies. For me, a big one is exercise. I like to try and get, if it's a day shift and I'm going home, if I can get another just half an hour of PT in the afternoon, that puts me in a really good mindset, positive mindset, you know, good serotonin levels when I get home, and good energy levels to actually deal with the kids, because otherwise if you go home completely knackered, you know, you're just not in a good mood, and it's overwhelming if they have those crazy energy levels and they want to play games, and it's the last thing you want to do. You know, you just want to veg out in front of the TV or something, you know, just go to bed. So,
that's cool.
I think those are definitely things I want to, I'm more keen to get into, especially breathing techniques and that kind of thing. Like Mike Townsend, our you know, well-being advisor, he's a big advocate of those things, and he's a real interesting guy.
Should try to talk to him at some point.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, he's got a whole lot of knowledge around all of that sort of stuff. He's really good to talk to too. I think for me, it was I've had to reflect and sort of realize that I probably need to catch myself. So I've got steps in place just mentally, that when I leave work, if I'm running home or biking home or even sitting in the ute in traffic, I've got just a process where I'll just reflect on the day, and this can only be like even a minute, 2 minutes. Just reflect on the day, just be conscious of how I'm currently feeling. Like, do I feel heavy? Do I feel lethargic? Am I tired? What's happened the week prior, right? How much work have I been at work too much and not at home enough? Like, just sort of, it's a really good sort of downtime for me, where it's at least sort of maximum of 10, 15 minutes drive home, 25-minute run home. So I can use that time to sort of assess and just break down in my own mind how I am, like what is my current status, and then what is affecting me, what's causing, if it's a low mood or if I'm feeling, you know, frustrated or whatever, what's actually the root cause of that, and then pinning that that down and saying, right, the reason I'm probably feeling like this, it's not anyone at home. It might be. And if that's the case, then I'll talk to them when I get home. But if it's something else, then I'll pin that down. Right, that's what's making me feel like that. I'm going to get myself into I'll deal with that if I need to deal with that at some point. But now I'm going to get myself into a good headspace because I'm going to home to the people that love me and that I love as well. And I'm going to go and make the most of that time, right? So I think it's just, for me, it's just catching myself if I am in that mood, and then communicating that to, if you've got lucky enough to have a significant other in your house, or even a friend or family member, talking to them and just building in safety nets. I love the idea of just safety nets. So when I can't catch myself, and I might walk in the door and swing the door open, and I always used to pick on the dishwasher for some reason. If it was full of clean dishes, I'd lose my rag at the clean dishwasher because no one's emptied it. If it was full of dirty dishes, I'd lose my rag because no one started the dishwasher. So it was just me coming home and venting, picking a fight. Yeah. And it didn't matter what state the dishwasher was in, right? Yeah. I could always rely on that thing to be my catalyst, and I could pick a fight. So then I could let my rage,
Yeah,
and just start on that rampage, right? Which was just unhealthy, and I reflect back now and hope that I haven't done any permanent damage to my kids when they used to see me in a bad state. But just talking to that person at home and like, hey, look, if I come home and if I'm in that state, you know, I know that going for a run or doing some exercise like Marky, you know, that's universal across all human beings, whether you like it or not. Yeah. We're designed that those endorphins and all that stuff releases when we exert ourselves. So even just going for a walk around the block, right, or getting outside in the fresh air, that does wonders. Breathing techniques, stuff like that. Or Lisa might say, do you need to just go and actually just spend 5 minutes just sitting down, not doing any jobs, just sitting down, hanging out with the kids and genuinely engaging with them. How was your day? What did you get into?
Yeah.
You know? But having those things in place, and sometimes for me, if I do come home and I've missed those cues, all it takes is for me to walk to the dishwasher and open it, and Lisa will say, shut that, or do you just need to go for a run or whatever? And you, even just that, right? Someone else acknowledging, hey, are you all right? Sometimes that's enough for me just to go, yeah, you see, I'm okay. The dishwasher's full of clean dishes. I'm going to empty it, and then I might go see what the kids are up to. Yeah, cool, good. Awesome. But it's that building in whatever strategies or systems, right, that you need. But for me, it's always that self-reflection, because it's me walking in there carrying my baggage that I need to check. Not sometimes leave at the door. I can talk to people about it. I can talk to Lisa about it. Oh, bad day, blah, 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 whatever. Or at least check it and understand the state that I'm walking through that door.
I really like that. I love that. Particularly, I love what you're saying about, you know, I guess being present and engaging with the kids, because that's what this is about. That's what I want to talk about, is like, how do you intentionally engage with the kids? I feel like it's too easy to get home and be like, you know, particularly, I don't know, by the time I get home in our routine, it's kind of, there's only sort of a brief amount of time. It's like home, dinner, and then the kids going to bed. Just really making the most of that time. You know, I don't know, what are some of the ways you guys enjoy most, like just your kids love engaging with you and you engage with them?
Well, I think for us, it's sort of the evening routine. Obviously, it can be pretty painful when they don't want to do what you want them to do. Yeah, like eat their food and brush their teeth, stay in the closet, all that stuff. But I think the sort of the bedtime routine of reading to them, like, that's quite important to me. I want them to be, you know, sort of well educated, you know, have a joy of reading, because I have a joy of reading, and my parents read to me when I was young. Awesome. So like, I think we always make sure that we take the time to read a book or two, and then sing a couple of songs, and then that sort of sets a nice, you know, like a nice calm end to the evening for them. It doesn't always go according to plan. Sometimes books get thrown. But I mean, if you if you can get some kind of routine like that going, I think it's helpful, especially because, you know, for us, we're not always home in the evenings, you know, and our kids will get upset by that. You know, sometimes my son has it in his head that I'm doing a story that night and I'm actually, no, I'm going to work. And maybe I'm on a reverse 24, so I'm not going to see you for a while, you know, you know, and he'll get quite upset sometimes. So you do have to sort of manage that, which can be a little bit upsetting.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's those, I really like those, the unplanned moments, like just that, I guess sitting and just genuinely asking them, what are they doing? You know, playing with Lego or something like that. And you just sort of slide on in there and just start tutuing, and then next minute you're talking about dragons and dinosaurs and some far off land and all that sort of stuff.
Awesome.
I like imagination and I like storytelling and stuff like that, obviously. So I think when I look back at my childhood, it's almost not like you remember some of the big events, right? Like if you traveled overseas or something like that. But some of my fondest memories with engaging with my parents are those real organic, just unplanned times where you ended up just giggling till you're crying, right? And it's just, I think we talk about it and use buzzwords like engagement and all that sort of stuff and being present and all of that. But sometimes I think we don't understand what being present actually means. And it's not having your phone in your pocket or, I'm sitting down next to the kids and we're doing Lego. But I'm also on Facebook or I'm also texting or something like that. Like just actually binning everything else and nothing else. Work doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't even matter if we haven't thought about anything for dinner right now. We're just going to sit down and we're just going to see where this time together takes us. Awesome. And we might just talk about random stuff, or we might go outside and kick a ball around while we're having a laugh and asking each other. But I find those times, for me, looking back, those were the memories that I held the dearest, right? It was genuine time where you were engaged with your parents and you felt connected to them. And I think that's, for a kid growing up, right, you are their rock. Until they learn how to regulate their emotions and all that sort of thing, they look to you for all of that sort of stuff. So anytime you can build that connection and become closer to them, it just, I think, just helps further down the track, right? In those times when it's hectic, where you are like fully tapped out, or you're trying to juggle 20 different sporting codes that they want to play, and your partner's sort of screaming at you that you need to get into that thing, and like, you know, in peacetime, that's when I think it's cool to build all of that.
Yeah,
I think the TV show Bluey has kind of ruined it for everybody, because no dad can. It's unrealistic expectations for a dad, but also the gold standard. I don't know if you watch it.
I haven't actually watched it, no. But Bandit, the dad in that, no matter what he's doing, he always drops whatever he's doing and does playtime with the kids. And that's
you
cool.
know, like, I think that's why it's become such a massive international hit. So that's, you know, like how parents should be. You know, like what's important is obviously that playing time and that imagination. And just coming up with creative things, whether it's, you know, the floor is lava or you know, anything like that.
That I started to try and introduce for myself. Just I have to think of when a question's asked me, Dad, do you want to go and play cricket on the field, or Dad, do you want to do this? And I might feel like I'm really heavily involved in something. Stop what you're doing and actually check before you answer that, because it's usually like, oh no, sorry buddy, I'm busy. You might just be death scrolling, right? Or you might think you're busy, but putting that importance back on that time. So trying to actually, I need to consciously work out, is there a reason for me to say no to this? Like, rather than just say no, I need a reason that I can't say yes. Why can't you say yes to going this?
It almost becomes the default response is to say no because it's something that's slightly hard or
busy
slightly,
life,
or it's going to be slightly messy, or but ultimately it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. It's like, it's just Play-Doh, you can vacuum it up, you know, it's just a bit of mud in the house, who cares?
100%.
But it is hard getting past that default. that default no, I think sometimes as a parent.
That's cool. Like I really like what you're saying about like because I feel like what you're saying is being engaged with your kid is actually just knowing what your kid needs. You know, like that's what I feel like from what you were saying before. It's just like it's not about doing the right things like according to a textbook or something. It's about like your kid, you know when they need quiet time or messy, like getting outside and being roughed up or whatever. Like that's what being engaged with your kids looks like. I like that.
Kids need boundaries, right? Kids, we need to apply that. But sometimes I think there's nothing wrong with letting the kid lead, right? Like, okay, I'm going to consciously block out half an hour or do a yes day where you can't say no to anything, right?
It's dangerous.
Like,
It sounds like experience.
Maybe a financial cap on it. Otherwise, you'll be up to Rainbow's End and then going down to see Parliament buildings and all that sort of stuff. But I think, like for me, it's just letting them lead a little bit, like giving them time and like, hey, what do you want to do? I want to play Lego. It's not really what I want to do right now, but I'm not going to say that. I'm like, sweet, let's play Lego. And next minute, the kid's gone and you're there trying to finish off the spaceship. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go eat dinner.
Attention spans on yourself.
And you're like, no, man, we've got to finish.
The best
finish the spaceship.
The best is when you can find activities that you all enjoy. Because quite often, you're like playing with your kid and they're getting happiness out of it. But in your mind, you're like, this is tedious because it's not something you're into. As grown-ups, we don't have that imagination anymore sometimes. But like if you can do something like, for me, a big one is taking my kids for a bike in the redwoods, in Rotorua. Like we all love that. So it's great to have that as an activity as a family. So if you can combine your hobbies with theirs, then that makes life, that's when it's the most fun.
Do you reckon that like then builds into your own resilience too? Because like when you're, I don't know, for me, Hannah loves being outdoors. Gemma loves animals. I like fresh air and whatever. Like, so just going for a picnic at McLaren's Falls and saying hello to the ducks and stuff, that's recharging for everyone. And like sometimes like, it's a lot of effort, long way to drive. Like, we got to pack sun hats. Like all the steps come up in my mind. But then when you just do it, by the end of the day, you're just like, I feel, as far as resilience goes, what we were talking about earlier, I feel so much more resilient after those days, when you actually just get out and do something that recharges you all. And, kids have had a great day.
Well, you're ticking all the boxes, right?
Yeah.
All the biological stuff, the stuff from way back that we know that human beings need, movement. We need to be outdoors. We're not designed to be stuck in an office cubicle staring at a screen. That is just not how we've evolved, right? So we need to be out in nature. We need to be seeing trees and interacting with nature and all that sort of stuff. So not only that, you're connected and you're spending time with people who you love and who love you. So it's just you're ticking multiple boxes, but sometimes we see it as I'm going to be the one, right, washing the boat when we all come back in or whatever. When we go out for 5 minutes and everyone says they're cold, and then we come back in. But it's about seeing that for what it is, right? Yeah. If we put a monetary value on that, when we're at the end of our life, right, spending time, if you could go back and feed the duck or talk to the ducks at McLaren Falls Park one last time, how much would you pay for that? Yeah, man, you think of the price that you put on that would be priceless. So I think it's about seeing it for what it is, right? Genuine time with the people you love and who love you unconditionally out in nature. Like that's a no-brainer. But sometimes we don't pin maybe. We don't put it far enough up our priority list. Something else will sort of.
And what you're saying, I like what you were saying before about a reason you can't say yes. And I think for me that kind of looks like, if we're using going for a kayak fish or something as an example, like, it's a lot of effort to, get all the fishing stuff together, the kayak on the roof, And so then in my mind, I'll be like, oh, no, we won't. But then my next mental step is like, all right, what are you going to do with this time instead?
Yeah.
And often it's just like, okay, I'll put the kayak on the roof. Let's go. But there's nothing else I'm going to do with this time. So you might as well just go do something fun with it, right?
100%, right. It's going to take some effort. It's going to take some work, but nothing great was easily won, man. And I think that's part of it, right? That's part of, well, this is only my thought process. This is why the kids put you through that whole sleep deprived phase and that point where you just feel like a lot of the time you're like, oh man, I've just got to make it through the next day. Maybe they'll sleep through tomorrow night, all that sort of stuff, especially in those early times. But I think that they put you through the ringer and push you to your limits, and that's where that unconditional love is built, right? You love them so much because what you've endured with them to a certain extent, and it's the same thing, right? You have to work hard. Love don't come for nothing.
Someone once said to me that with kids, the days are long, but the years are short. And so you just have to. Sometimes it is often very hard work, but ultimately you're not going to get that time back. So you should do all the things that make them happy.
It's genuinely the greatest job, right? Like it's the one that is the most rewarding. When you look at all of those little good bits, those little snippets, right? You can't get that sort of job satisfaction anywhere. I don't think you can get that sort of job satisfaction anywhere else. Yeah. Right? Doesn't matter how good you are at your place of employment. I don't think anyone that I work with will love me unconditionally.
I don't know.
You're a lovable chap.
I think so. Well, maybe we'll just
No, but it's true, right? Like, I think my eldest daughter, she's just at the age where she's starting to run and meet me at the door. I'm like,
it's cool.
Yeah, it's far out, man. That is an unbelievable feeling,
make
right?
Bad day a lot better, man.
Yeah.
It's amazing when they're so happy to see you. Like it's just made their day. That's an amazing feeling. For sure.
And
you just got to notice that sometimes,
Yeah, for real.
And stop and actually oh man, I'm a big part of this person's life. Because I think once again, sometimes if we haven't checked ourselves right, that can gloss over and just be like, hey, how are you? And you sort of go on the door. But it's about recognizing those little moments and grabbing them, right?
Yeah.
Because, they grow. Like Marky says, the years are short.
What you were saying before about boundaries, right? I think one of my proudest moments of being a parent, again, only less than 2 years experience, but oldest daughter is very emotionally driven. Her emotions are in overdrive, already even compared to her younger sister. The difference is night and day. The little one's just so cruisy, and the older one is a lot more,
Feels things more.
She just feels deeply and strongly, and as far as all the advice and stuff out there goes, one line of advice goes, it's can't regulate her emotions at this age. Just sort of almost let her go for it, but. Hannah and I don't know, we've tried to enforce these boundaries and stuff around, all right, she can't regulate her emotions. So let's help her, teach her how to do it for her kind of thing for now. So she's got tools later in life she can use. And just this morning was an example. She just nailed it. She does so well, with these boundaries and stuff now. She's our word for it is just resetting. And she was losing the plot. And then we're just Gemma, reset, and she just was trying all she could. It's nah, can't do it. Ran off to her bedroom. In 5 seconds of just and then buried her face in the pillow, head up, happy, and came out happy as, and just reset perfectly. And I was just so proud. Nice. I couldn't believe it. As far as I guess balancing healthy boundaries, strong boundaries to help them thrive. But also what you were saying before about understanding who they are and I guess personalizing those boundaries for her, right? Because those sets of boundaries won't work for my younger daughter. We're going to have to find other stuff to do with her. But I really like that, what you were saying about, healthy boundaries, but, understanding who they are.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times we forget that they're kids, and we forget that they haven't learned all the coping strategies and stuff like that we've got to deal with. Potentially someone yelling at them or not getting exactly what they want, or all of that sort of stuff like that. You just see raw emotion with kids, which is one of the coolest things, one of the things I like most about them, right? They're how I envisage we would be if we were still, I don't know, in a lot simpler world, right? Where all of our lives would be a lot simpler. But hopefully we'd be emotionally regulated by the time we got to adults. But yeah, for them, I think we go through the whole pregnancy thing, and they come out, and as soon as they can walk and talk, we almost treat them a little bit like sometimes that they're just little adults, but they're not, right? They're still developing, their minds are developing, their emotions are all over the show. And I think we need to keep checking ourselves and realizing that our role as parents, and once again, this is only my 2 cents, but our role as parents is to be the consistency, right, in their lives. And even we're on the precipice of the teenage years, right? Yeah. So I think both, luckily for me and Lisa, have got a reasonably similar parenting style, where we're sort of like, we want to be the consistent one. So we do our best to regulate our emotions when we're getting yelled at or we're getting blasted. There's still boundaries, right? It's like, hey, you can't talk to us like that. That's not okay in our house. But let them vent, do their thing. We try not to react. We choose whether we are going to respond or maybe even not. Let them explode, and then they storm off. We wait for however long, and then maybe we go in and like, hey, are you all right? Are you okay? Do you want to talk about what just happened? And usually, more often than not, once they've cooled off, you can talk about, hey, look, I understand that it's tricky. This is how you felt, and I believe you that it's like you say, it's a big deal that you can't go to your mate's house. I believe you. I understand that it's a big deal, and you think this is a big deal, but these are the reasons why you can't. Sorry. Blah, 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 right. So I think it's important sometimes not to maybe
react straight away.
When they react. 100%. Take that breath, right? And that's only if you've got capacity, man. And like plenty of times I have not had capacity, right? So you react, and then they react, and then you react, and you're just two people in red brain just going at it, right? And then until one of you storms off out of the room. And then, like Marky said before, you instantly, being the grown-up in that situation, you instantly feel that guilt, and that's you understanding, far out, what have I just done there? And then you check that, you apologize. Hey, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have yelled. It's not your fault. I've got some other stuff happening at the moment. I feel like maybe I'm a bit stressed. I'm calmer now. Should we talk about it?
You hope that that's not something they bring up with their psychologist.
Guaranteed, right? Like Dad used to yell all the time. It's his fault. But I think it's explaining to the kids too that you're a human being. Like that's smarter than we give them credit for, man. That you're a human being too, and sometimes you get grumpy. Sometimes when you yell, it's not because you're angry at them. It's there's other stuff going on, and you maybe not going to divulge to them all of that stuff, but you just say, I had a bad day at work today, and you watch them turn. They'll become that compassionate. Once they level out, they'll be like, "Oh, sorry, you had a bad day at work." They see that you're human as well.
I'm often amazed at, even though kids are sort of innately selfish, the level of empathy that they are able to display sometimes. If they can see that you're in a bad mood, or if you're upset about something, like that, they'll be particularly affectionate, and it's quite endearing, because you're like, well, maybe we are doing a good thing with this little human, and they are going to be they're going to be okay. We're not messing them up too much.
Just if there was a general report card that came back on your parenting, right? Like every 6 months or something, and like, can you tweak here, here, and here? And you're like, oh, sweet. But unfortunately, you don't know that. Lisa and I just jokingly say, well, man, we don't know if we're doing a good job or not, right?
No.
And how do you tell until you release them into the wild?
Yeah.
And they're either doing okay and they're happy, healthy humans, or they're not. Yeah. And sometimes that's completely out of your control anyway. But yeah, it's just a suck it and see thing, right?
Yeah.
Just hope you're doing the right thing, and if you're not,
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's that I get what you're saying. One of ours is definitely feels emotions more, and it's the same recipe, right? Exactly the same recipe. Ours are same recipe to make those two kids, but they are just totally different, man.
Yeah,
personality wise, and definitely how you feel those emotions. And for us, it was just about making sure that we let them release those emotions. Home is a safe place to do that. But then we talk about, just like you've done, how you regulate that in a healthy way.
So then what do you make of like the parenting types and stuff, I guess, at the moment? Have you heard of this new one? I think so obviously for a while now, the trendy parenting thing to do is the gentle parenting and stuff. And a lot of parents have adopted that. But I was just reading the other day, I think it was a British news outlet or something, had come up with they were sort of talking about this new one that parents on some platform are going on about. FIFO or something, FAFO is if around, find out. And it's super strong consequences.
Oh, really?
So, and it's almost the trend swinging the other way from gentle parenting now to this I don't know, I guess my wife and I, we have consequences in our home, from very early ages. They have to learn that, stuff hurts, and if they don't listen,
like a belt.
Hey,
like a belt.
Oh yeah, two under two. Got to teach them early, right? No, but
two-year-old Levi. That's just
no. But there's consequences to what they do. But now a new trend has sort of taken that and gone real far with it. I don't know. When you summarize parenting into all these types and different things and whatnot, I feel like it sort of doesn't leave room for, I don't know, the way Hannah and I word it is values-based parenting. Almost doesn't matter if you take real strong, what side of the field you pick. If you are parenting from your values, and your kids are going to pick up on that, and grow up with the security of those values, kind of thing. Do you reckon?
It's hard to know, isn't it? I mean, our generation, I'll include Dunny and myself, even though he's a bit older than me. When we were kids, if we did something silly, we get smacked over the head or something like that, and that was perfectly normal. And same for anyone, that I'd speak to. They were in that situation, or your parents wouldn't sit you down and talk to you like an American sitcom and explain things to you. They just yell at you, send you to your room without dinner, or physical abuse. Not that much.
Almost like work it out for yourself.
Yeah. And and people of our generation say, well, never did us any harm, But having said that, are we, in the midst of, a sort of a bit of a mental health epidemic where, people are struggling, and, people who did have that childhood, are now sort of, insecure because of that. It's so hard to say. There's so many different approaches, because sometimes that's sort of that softly approach where you sit down and you tell the kid they're they're amazing, and super soft parenting, all that stuff. That doesn't really prepare them for the real world either. Yes, it's great that they have that security at home, they feel safe, but what happens when they have their first job interview and they get turned down, or what happens when they get their heart broken and they're like, but I thought I was perfect. Like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
You know, like there's got to be a sort of fine line between being an empathetic and caring person, but also like exposing them to the real world to a certain extent.
Definitely.
And I think that's such a hard tightrope to walk as a parent, you know.
But that's very like, I reckon it's not about types. It's not about which parenting textbook you read or whatever. It's about understanding your kid, you know, like parenting from your values.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
I think parenting is too important a job for it to be a trend.
Yes.
Like you have to, and everyone's a little bit different, but for me, it's like once you have kids, that is going to be your legacy, right? That's going to be how I feel I'm going to be remembered, right? Because I've helped to construct these, hopefully, to other humans that will go on to do whatever they want to go on and do. But I think we sort of, we want to protect our kids, but there's, like Mark, he's suggesting there's certain things that they need to experience in life so that they can build their own coping mechanisms, right? Yeah. So being picked last in the sports panel, or being the only one left, we're still allowed to play bull rush again now or something, maybe? Being the last one picked, right? At bull rush, like all of that sort of stuff, being dumped by their girlfriend, boyfriend, or I think that builds that resilience, right? If they experience that, and you can be that level rock in their life as much as you can. So when they come home screaming that, I'm not going to school tomorrow because blah, 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 whispered to blah, 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 that they don't like me anymore. Yeah. You can sit with them and they can experience that emotion. They can sit in that. You can have a chat to them and like, hey, look, I know that it's really hard. You know, I believe what you're saying and that you're feeling that tomorrow's just going to be a nightmare and stuff like that. Yeah. But this is, it's going to be okay. We're going to be here for you. Let's go through, we'll go to bed, we'll wake up tomorrow. Tomorrow's a new day and we'll see how it experiences. And then reflecting back on that when they come home and they're like, how was your day? Oh, it was sweet as. Okay, so maybe it's not the worst thing to be picked last sometimes. That's going to happen in life, right? And just being that constant rather than always reacting to that and like, oh, sweetheart, like being empathetic, but not, I'll ring the school and we'll talk to them about this. No one puts my kid last, blah, 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 that sort of stuff, right? It ends up getting to a point where they've never experienced what it feels like to miss out on something or to try really hard but get knocked back. And like Marky says, man, there's not too many places you can live in the world and you're not going to experience that as an adult, right? And so for me, it's really important to build that resilience when they're young. Let them experience life. And part of life is being anxious when they've got a big test coming up, right? It's a normal experience. It's not bad. It's not evil. It's normal because you care about it. And that's why, and you explain that to them. You're going to be okay. This is not going to be the biggest thing in your life. You'll be all right. But being that rock and sort of being that, I guess, that emotional sort of crutch while they're learning how to control their emotions.
I think the main thing with that is as long as they know that, and they probably won't because we don't with our parents. We don't confide in them with everything that we go through. But as long as they know that if it's something majorly important, that they can always trust your mum or your dad to be there for you.
Love it. I hate to cut it short. I feel like there's so much more we can talk about, but I want to respect the fact that you got to get away on time. Do we have enough time just to quickly go around the room? I know this whole parenting thing can be quite freaky, quite overwhelming. I'd love to go around just quickly about the first story of you as a new parent and that moment that for you, it was like, oh wow, it went from freaking out about being a new parent to, oh, this is worth it. This is worth sticking around for. Because I guess like there's a lot of parents these days that maybe are tossing up that question a lot, whether it's worth sticking around for. It's quite scary and overwhelming. So if we could quickly in closing, just go around highlight of being a parent or that first moment that it was.
Yeah, for me, it was my son, who's 7-year-old now. It was quite weird because up until he was born, it was completely abstract concepts. I don't know if I was the best during the pregnancy, to be honest. I feel like I probably could have been more supportive because it was just this abstract concept. So to me, it was like, I don't love this concept yet. But as soon as he was born, it was like he imprinted on me, or I imprinted on him, or something. And straight away, there was just instant love. And so the first night, we had him in a wahakura, with that little woven basket thing, in the bed in between us. And I didn't sleep. I was just watching him all night because I was terrified that he was going to stop breathing or something like that. And for me, that was it. It was instant. Awesome. I was quite lucky with that. A lot of people, it takes a few weeks, or some people never really love their kid. No, I'm just kidding. But so it was for some. It was like, I mean, I don't believe in anything particularly cosmic, but it was just this instant hit to my heart that that was pretty amazing for me.
Awesome.
It's a similar sort of thing. Like loved both my kids since they've turned up. Pretty much the same deal, right? It was like I knew there was a baby in there, but until they're out, like the mother has that biological connection to them. But until I feel like as a dad, until you sort of see them in the flesh, it's almost like there's this primal connection where it's like your eyes meet, and it sounds very romantic, but your eyes meet, and you're like, there's something about it. But I don't know if there was like a particular point where I'm sort of like, man, I genuinely love you to pieces. Yeah. But for me, it's like humor in our house is utilized a lot. So it's when we're getting to that point where when you can see all of those things that you've done, all those times where you've tried to imprint just that little bit of knowledge where you're like, oh man, the situation sucks, they're really emotional, something like that, but I can maybe just make it a little bit better by maybe doing this. When you see, and it might be years later, a little bit of that come back where they're sitting with someone else, and you hear them overhear them talking to their friends, and they're giving a little bit of that advice, or they're being that comforter or something like that. For me, that fills my heart chocolate, right? Where I'm just like, you know what, just instant pride and all that sort of stuff. So those are the sort of points, I guess, with my kids. That, and Fletcher and I also had a connection. When he was lying, I'd just taken his nappy off on the change table. And when he was lying there and I was changing, it must have been the cold air. Just as I was bending down to get a spare nappy, he peed and it went straight into my mouth. So we've got like
what a moment.
I don't want to say deeper connection, it's a different connection.
Nice.
But that was definitely
daddy son moment.
Yeah.
Definitely,
nice. Definitely memorable.
I had a similar one where I had my son and I was showering him for the first time and he latched onto my nipple. I'm going to tell him about this in his 21st.
Where's the camera, right? Where's the
camera? Well, I think for me it was, same. First night, Gemma had just been born. Hannah was out to it. She was like, she had just been through a massive ordeal, completely unconscious beyond this realm. And it was just me. She started crying. And like, I was still freaking out about being a dad at this point. I picked her up, changed her nappy and cuddled her. And she went to sleep in my arms and I laid her down and she stayed asleep. And I was just like,
dating's easy.
This is going to be good. Like, this is going to be amazing. Yeah, and I think that was it for me. Like, it was just sort of, I'm really blessed that it happened that first night. That it was like, didn't take me ages to be like, oh, this is going to be made. I know some people it does take a while, but for me it was definitely the first night. I was just like, well, this is awesome. This is going to be cool.
Real.
That's one thing I'm going to miss is that baby nap. You can't do anything. You're useless to the world. You can't do anything else because you've got to sleeping baby on you.
Yeah.
You're like, yes. And then you can have a little nap as well. That's an amazing feeling.
So good, all
Or
right.
other people's babies for that.
Well, I don't want to get in trouble again.
Yeah. Man, I feel like there's so much more to talk about. I really want to respect your times, bro. So
Thank you.
we'll wrap it up there and we'll pick it up another day because there's plenty more to talk about on this topic. So I'm sure we'll revisit it. But for now, thanks heaps. And we'll catch up again another day.
No, thanks, Levi.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
bro.
having me.
Yeah,
Much appreciated.
All good.
Cheers, man.
Cool.